Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly. Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly. Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly. Me, I'm super fly. When the rain hits my window, I take it. Me some endo, me and Timberland, ooh, we sang a jangle. We so tight that you get our styles tangled.
Please support Black, Aboriginal, American media. Action News Network is not and probably will never be monetized by YouTube. Tell YouTube to eat a dick by liking, subscribing, and sharing, and also help a nigga out by donating to PayPal/DK Jackson II by using 2 capital I's. Thank you, cause a nigga is broke.
The contents of this video falls under the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, Articles 8 and 16. This video cannot be discriminated against. For Aboriginal, Thong Americans are entitled to fair access to non-indigenous media platforms free of discrimination. Non-compliance is a direct breach of international law.
Here's the thing. Every single phenomenon that we are seeing associated with out-of-place weather patterns, he actually caught fire because of the methane, which was flammable, and they were talking about a tidal wave of flames. That was a pretty interesting story.
It's not there. The whole condensation trail narrative is a complete lie. These are sprayed particulate trails, not condensation, with almost no exceptions. And this is, again, the biggest lie ever perpetrated on the human race. That's SPX radar that you're speaking about. If people want to Google and search that, they can find it. It's called SPX radar, the sea bases that you're talking about.
Patterns with active volcanoes. You're talking about, obviously, the methane hydrate. All those things in New Guinea, with HAARP, the High Frequency Active Aurora Research Project, of which there are 72, by the way. And it's funny because I keep getting the same denialistain over and over saying, they closed HAARP down. No, they didn't. There's 72 of them worldwide, and they've even put them into the ocean now. The infamous barge with the giants.
Alright, y'all, welcome back, Action News Network, and we're going to talk about HAARP. All these hurricanes and weird weather going on. So U.S. Air Force basically got do-it-yourself weather, DIY weather. Alright, they're just making it up. Happy hurricanes. Alright. So you see all this science here. This is how this HAARP weapon works. HAARP stands for the High Altitude Aurora Research Program, right? High frequency active antenna, and there's a whole array of them all over the world. The largest one for the United States is in Alaska, and it basically sends up low and high frequency radio waves up into the sky and disrupts the pattern of the ionosphere, which can cause hot air, cold air, and can move weather systems around by manipulating them jet streams. Okay, they also do this and build these things on the natural ley lines to take advantage of the energy in these certain areas. The three I know in America is Alaska, Arecibo. I mean, it's what you're seeing right here. That's the HAARP up there. You have Arecibo in Puerto Rico, and you also have Montauk Island in New York. And I'm pretty sure there's more than that. But those are the three that I can think of off the top of my head.
Breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga.
Yeah, what up, y'all? This is a manual I came across when I was in the Air Force back in 2004. I found the same document because it's been declassified since 2009. It says weather as a force multiplier owning the weather in 2025. Alright, we're going to continue. As you can see, it's an official Air Force document. You got Colonel Tamsy J. House, Lieutenant Colonel James B. Neer Jr., all these, all these people right here. This shit and this is from August 1996. Alright, so disclaimer right here. Hold on. 2025 is a study designed to comply with a directive from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force to examine the concepts, capabilities, and technologies the United States will require to remain the dominant air and space force in the future. Presented 17 June 1996, this report was produced in the Department of Defense School environment of academic freedom and the instance of advancing concepts related to national defense. The views expressed in this report are those of the authors and do not reflect the official policy or position of the United States Air Force, Department of Defense, or the United States government. Although this was a classified document for a while, this is how they try to, this is how they try to fucking cover their asses. Let's go through this table of contents and shit. I'm not gonna read this whole damn book to y'all. You can find it online, it's not hard to find at all. Let's go some acknowledgements. Bear with me a little bit, people. Executive summary: in 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focusing development on those technologies to warfighting applications, such as a capability offers the warfighter tools to shape the battle space in ways never before possible, provides opportunities to impact operations across the full spectrum of conflict, and is pertinent to all possible futures. The purpose of this paper is to outline a strategy for the use of a future weather modification system to achieve military objectives rather than to provide a detailed technical roadmap. A high-risk reward endeavor, weather modification offers a dilemma not unlike the splitting of the atom. While some segments of society will always be reluctant to examine the controversial issues such as weather modification, the tremendous military capabilities that could result from this spill are ignored at our own peril. Alright? Like I said, I ain't gonna read this whole fucking shit to you. From enhancing friendly operations or disrupting those of the enemy via small-scale tailoring of the natural weather patterns to complete dominance of global communications and counter-space control. Weather modification offers the warfighter a wide range of possibilities to defeat or coerce an adversary. Some of the potential capabilities a weather modification system could provide a warfighting commander-in-chief are listed in the table 1. Alright. Let's continue. Here's some of the capabilities of the great enemy forces: precipitation enhancement, flood lines of communication, reduce PGM and reconnaissance effectiveness, decreased comfort level morale, storm enhancement, deny operations, participation denial fresh water, induce drought, space weather, disrupt communications radar, disable, destroy space assets, fog and cloud removal, deny concealment, increase vulnerability to PGM and Reese. These must be, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. I thought it said recon or whatever, Reese. I don't know exactly what that is. I have to get back to you on that. Detect hostile weather activities. Enhance friendly forces, participation in avoidance, maintain, improve location, maintain visibility, maintain comfort level, morale, storm modification, choose battle space environment, space weather, improve communications, reliability, intersect enemy transmissions, revitalize space assets, fog and cloud generation, increase concealment, fog and cloud removal, maintain airfield operations, enhance PGM effectiveness, defend against enemy capabilities. And says current technologies that will mature over the next 30 years will offer anyone who has the necessary resources the ability to modify weather patterns and their corresponding effects, at least on the local side. Alright? In the United States, weather modification will likely become a part of national security policy with both domestic, both domestic and international applications. Our government will pursue such a policy depending on interests at various levels. The levels could include unilateral actions, which is very in the security framework, such as NATO, membership in the international organizations such as UN, or participation in the coalition.
Okay, President Kennedy, he proposed it, just like his space program. As you can see, as a kid in 1990, we didn't see none of this shit in the sky. Now it's like, these clouds being painted in. It's weird. It's fucking kind of scary. During Vietnam, they had Agent Orange, which was creating monsoons. So they've been doing this since the 60s.
Under the Fair Use Act of 2007 and the Copyright Act of 1976, credit for work and sources duly belong to said author and not Action News Network. The following is being used for educational and/or entertainment purposes only and not for monetary purposes. ANN reserves the right to educate American Aboriginals on non-Indigenous platforms as protected by the United Nations and the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Booyah!
Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Guys, we're looking at basically a map of the world, and I want you to pay attention. This is Mimic. Galaxy. Look at what happens down here in Antarctica. We have this anomalous energetic right there and there. Energies that come up, hit into Africa, and then go shooting up into Helene. And we've seen this before. Do you remember all the cases we had with the anomalous flooding and then also having the water recede? We've seen this before go out. And I remember when we had the water receding over here in Brazil down towards Uruguay, you would see a blast here and then all of a sudden you had the water receding. And we've seen this before with storms going over towards Hawaii, and we've seen this even in cases of earthquakes. So it's very, very curious, and this, many people feel that this is really coming from a base in Antarctica, and this is part of their weather control system. So again, you see a blast there and a blast there, and it does look like the storm changes as it goes on up after the blast. So is this more evidence of direct weather modification, weather control? These things always occur, these blasts of energy always occur around something that's happening currently. A hurricane, anomalous water event, even earthquakes, mysteriously. They always seem to be around these type of events. So is this just another case of weather control, weather modification?
Recent outburst of extreme hurricanes in the U.S. are as a result of man-made weather manipulation. Patrick Roddy, a geoengineering expert, discovered newly released NASA World View satellite images that show weird anomalies around hurricanes HAARP responsible for the recent spate of hurricanes around the world. Yesterday, we published an article in which world-renowned physicist Dr. Michio Kaku claimed that man-made hurricanes are the result of a government weather modification program in which the skies are sprayed with nanoparticles and storms then activated through the use of lasers. AnonGroup.org reports, one can see the feathery features, haze, and wave patterns commonly seen in a chemtrail * sprayed and electromagnetically zapped sky, appearing around the hurricanes and their paths. Lines of sprayed aerosols and wispy, feathery features easily recognizable as geoengineering material were spotted around the recent hurricanes. The anomalous nature of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, and possibly the new Hurricanes Jose and Katia, should prompt people to investigate whether or not geoengineering played a role in this.
Alright, so recently we had Hurricane Florence, or as I call it, Flo Slow, hit the shores of the Carolinas recently, just a couple days ago, right here in September. So this hurricane had a lot of weird features, as will be shown, and the rescue mission was even weirder, but I'll get into that in another video. Alright, but there's a lot of unanswered questions here that we need to ask. Alright,
hey, I'm Jim Weber in the Fox 13 Weather Center. Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. So, watching Hurricane Florence made landfall at 7:15 this morning as a Category 1 hurricane right near Wrightsville Beach. And it really has not moved all that much since then. You look at the visible satellite loop, and you look at that center right near Wilmington. A little hard to pick out. It's becoming somewhat obscured, but you can tell it's just kind of drifting. And that's what we've seen basically ever since this has made landfall, drifting down towards the west-southwest right now. Another view, the enhanced satellite loop, still a lot of very impressive convection right near the center of the storm. So this is still maintaining itself as a hurricane for the time being, and the heavy rains are going to continue to fall across North Carolina as we go through the rest of today and into the weekend as well. And on top of that, you also have that surge, which is still working its way along the coast. You can see all the way from the Outer Banks all the way down towards Wilmington. As you get down towards Myrtle Beach, down in the South Carolina, it's an offshore flow, so it is pushing the water away from the coastline, but this is still going to be an issue into tomorrow as well along the coastal areas before things start to settle down on Sunday. So Hurricane Florence winds right now 80 miles an hour, 34 degrees north, 78 west. It is drifting down towards the west-southwest at 3 miles an hour. So that very slow motion, that's what really helps to accumulate the heavy rainfall totals, between 30 to 40 inches of rain in some areas of North Carolina before all is said and done. So it'll work its way into South Carolina, weaken eventually into a depression as it turns more towards the north and eventually the northeast. It'll gain some forward speed, and by the middle of next week it's up towards Maine and actually heading out back over water. But that, we'll watch it, but that should be the end of this system. But now other areas we're watching, this is Tropical Depression Isaac. It's been working its way through the eastern Caribbean. A lot of wind shear, so this system's been struggling all along the way. 14.9, 67.3. Top winds are at 35 miles an hour. This one just doesn't look like it's going to survive. It'll just kind of fall apart. Still an area of showers and storms, working its way towards the western Caribbean as we get into the first part of next week. Tropical Storm Helene, winds at 70 miles an hour. It's moving very rapidly to the north at 23 miles an hour. Could be an issue for parts of the Azores as we get into late Saturday heading into Sunday. And then we've got Tropical Storm Joyce right next to Helene. That is currently moving to the south at 8 miles an hour, but that'll turn back towards the north, and eventually it looks like that will dissipate first part of next week. Lots going on in the tropics. We'll keep you updated on all of it right here on myfoxhurricane.com.
My friends, thanks for tuning in. In this video I'm going to show you some proof that Hurricane Irma and Jose are basically man-made with this technology that I'm about to show you. We're looking at NASA Worldview. Thank you very much, NASA, for providing us with these 24-hour images of planet Earth. This is the most current, September 8th, which is today, 2017. NASA Worldview, so this is not Photoshop, I'm not making anything up. Over here, just want to show you, does this look normal to you? Basically, these are frequency weapons, so to speak, or weather modification technology off the west coast of Africa on these islands. One island is Funchal, the other one is Santa Cruz, Tenerife. And you can see, this tiny little island, and you see all these spindles coming out of it. This is not normal, so this is not natural, and it's all going in this direction where currently Hurricane Jose and Hurricane Irma are about to hit the east coast, Florida. And over here we have more islands off the west coast of Africa over here. These are Santa Cruz Islands, and you can totally see the same kind of frequencies coming out of these islands. They're very small islands, and you can see these frequencies coming out of them because they have this technology there, and it's this technology, gonna zoom out a little bit, is creating these spindles, so to speak, right? You can totally see all of these and all of these. And I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So where is it all going? So it's all creating pressure. It's going down here. This is the direct.
Breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga. These.
So it's from the Washington Post. Hurricane Florence has definitely made an impact. Over the course of 4 days, Hurricane Florence poured anywhere from 8 trillion to 10 trillion gallons of water in North Carolina. This Florence claimed the lives of more than 30 people in 3 states. Nearly unimaginable levels of flash river flooding. I don't know why it keeps on doing this. It's like sticking. Have left vast stretches of land temporarily uninhabitable. Florence is the new flood of record in North Carolina, with 34 inches fell in Swansboro, and South Carolina, where 23.6 inches fell in Maurice. Hurricane Florence achieved the Category 4 status over the open Atlantic Ocean with storm weekend before it made landfall as a Category 1 with a very large wind circulation. Florence is an example of what meteorologists have come to understand. Category at landfall is not necessarily related to total rainfall. How's the storm compared with Hurricane Harvey, another made-up fucking storm in 2017? Harvey struck the southeast Texas coast as a Category 4, but weakened to tropical storm intensity over several days. It dumped as much as 61 inches over the Houston region. Total rain volume was estimated at 25 trillion gallons. So Harvey was a beast. But let's not take it away. These are all geoengineered storms. Right? Let's not and look, there are striking similarities. Both storms beyond generating what does it say right there? Beyond generating rainfall in trillions of gallons. First, both storms had low wind ratings when they began intense rainmaking. Second, they lingered for days over the same region, at times barely crawling at a few miles per hour, remaining nearly stationary, slow flow. So third, they struck coast, close to the coast, having access to an unlimited supply of water, vapor evaporating off very warm ocean waters. So they kind of like trolling too, saying, they're giving you something to think about, like why these storms are so crazy and so similar. Alright, something to think about, and just making this shit up.
Hurricane Florence, as you've seen, is a historically rain-making storm. Now, like I said before, there was a lot of crap that got my attention. Go back to 2005, Hurricane Katrina. I was actually in this area when the hurricane struck, but I got out before it hit hard as I was moving bases. I was able to return back to Mississippi, where I was stationed at first, and it was total devastation. That hurricane single-handedly hit in the blackest part of the country. New Orleans and Mississippi, where it hit, it has some of the largest black numbers in the country. And it was no surprise that this storm, which is, I believe, the first man-made, well, not man-made, but geoengineered storm, the direct hit it made and the path it took was just way too suspicious. Let's go back in time.
New Orleans is no longer safe to live
Hurricane Katrina roared toward the Gulf Coast.
This deteriorating situation in the city of New Orleans.
Some people in Mississippi got out. Tragically, many others stayed put, surviving against all odds.
As the house just filled up with water, it forced me into the attic, and then I ended up kicking out the wall and climbing out to a tree because the houses around me were just disappearing.
We don't know where we're going to go or really what we're going to do at this point.
I know there's something in the wake of your smile. I get a notion from the look in your eyes. Yeah, you've built a love, but that love falls apart. A little piece of heaven turns to dark. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye.
We were sitting there in the storm, and we did not even have any idea of destruction going on around us. When we got out and saw destruction, we just feel so blessed, and thank God we're alive.
At least we are alive. That's the important thing.
Sometimes you wonder if this fight is worthwhile. The precious moments are all lost in the tide. Yeah, they're swept away, and nothing is what it seems. The feeling of belonging to your dreams.
It's just heartbreaking.
Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye.
And I could hear the wind going around the trailer, and it was horrible sounding. I mean, it didn't sound like that where we were at, but it was horrible sounding, and it was. And my kids told him that they loved him and they wanted him to come up with us.
And there are voices that want to be heard.
I hold her hand tight like I could, and she told me, you can't hold her. She said, take care of the kids and the grandkids.
Crowbars and pickaxes floating through neighborhoods, smashing through roofs, looking for survivors. The advice to them from authorities was, ignore the bodies, we want the living.
Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. Listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. Listen to your heart. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. Listen to your heart.
As I stated earlier, Hurricane Katrina was one of the worst hurricanes and most devastating hurricanes. As you can see here, the flight path was just way too bizarre. It came straight into the Gulf of Mexico. Then instead of going into Texas or Mexico like it would go, it's like something hit the storm and jettisoned it up into the Mississippi Valley. I mean, it was just really crazy. Now, like I said, there was a purge going on with that. I mean, blacks were being shot, left out to die. Kanye made that famous statement saying George Bush didn't care about black people. And from the look of what happened with the storm and the relief efforts, it's not even debatable. So many people lost their lives, went missing, that it's a travesty. And these storms always hit in black areas. Just remember that.
These breaking news, nigga. These breaking news, nigga. These.
Alright, this is from website the Newswire. This is even from 3 years ago, so it's not even a new topic at all. But you're starting to see more and more of it now. I learned about this. Well, I learned about HAARP years and years ago, but really what it was being used for, I learned about 3 or 4 years ago. So this is when it started really coming out. But CIA admit to using weather modification as a military weapon. Probably won't read the whole article. I'm just trying to give you a feel of what's been going on here. They admit this stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, they admit this shit. They don't try to hide it. Hold on. The thing is acting up a little bit. Alright, the CIA have admitted that various nations possess the ability to use weather modification or geoengineering as a weapon in war. So, not just the United States, but multiple countries, especially Russia, China. Those are countries you should be very worried about having the ability to geoengineer, to modify the weather. How do we know that China is not also, or Russia is not also sending these hurricanes and droughts and shit going on? How do we not know this? All right, we don't put nothing past our own government. That's for damn sure. But how do we know that our quote unquote enemies are doing this? We're still like in a cold war with China right now. All right. Rutgers University climatologist Alan Robick claims that his department at the New Jersey-based university were hired by the CIA to control other nations' climates. All right. So they're using scientists from universities. All right. I'm very familiar with Rutgers over there in the New York area. One of the larger universities in the New York City metropolitan area. All right. This is from naturalnews.com reports. The climatologist also says the callers asked if we control someone else's climate, would they then know about it? Roebuck told the consultants that any large-scale weather manipulation would be detectable. Obviously, the CIA seems to have a very keen interest in the subject of weather modification. In fact, Roebuck appears to confirm the rumor that the agency contributes to funding for a recently published U.S. National Academy of Sciences report on geoengineering. According to the Daily Mail, which I believe is a UK paper, the Professor Roebuck said that the CIA had told one of his colleagues it wanted to fund the report, but apparently did not want this fact to be too obvious. Roebuck found this concerning, saying that the CIA is a major funder of the national academies, so that makes me very worried about who is going to be in control. Alternate weather has been a wartime ploy for years, as we've been going over. However, it is likely that many countries now have the capability to modify weather. In reality, weather used as a weapon is not a new concept. Several historical examples of weather manipulation used in times of battles exist. For example, Roebuck mentions that geoengineering existed in Vietnam. This is back in the 60s and early 70s. Vietnam lasted from, about the early to mid 60s to the early 70s, all right? Where for a period of 5 years, U.S. planes engaged in cloud seeding missions that were successful in increasing rainfall and prolonging monsoon seasons. They called a lot of this shit Agent Orange, all right? It was chemicals that they was putting in the air and shit. You know, and it made a lot of the troops sick out there. All right. So this ain't nothing new, man. Ain't nothing new under the sun, man. Ain't nothing new. They've been doing this shit for years. Best believe the government's like 30 to 40 years ahead of you when it comes to fucking technology, all right? The U.S. also used cloud seeders against Cuba in an effort to make it rain and ruin the sugar harvest. All right, it was using it against Cuba also. All right, so this is nothing new at all. Following World War II, England sought a weather modification method for addition to their defense repertoire. The Royal Air Force conducted a cloud seeding experiment dubbed Operation Cumulus near North Devon, a district in southern England. She explains that a great deal of rain fell in a short period of time, wreaking havoc on the general area. The experiment induced a deluge during which 3 months worth of rainfall fell in 24 hours. Nearly 90 tons of water swept down a narrow valley in the town of Lynmouth, destroying whole buildings and sweeping out residents out to sea. Some 35 Britons lost their lives as a result. And these motherfuckers be doing it to their own fucking people, man. Testing it on their own fucking people. You know what I'm saying? So 35 British souls was lost because the British government wanted to play fucking God with weather, you know? And then you gotta look at a lot of other fucking things, you know? We gotta talk about Katrina. And we gotta talk about the hurricanes that's been going on now, lately. And you see they getting worse and worse, alright? Alright, millions of dollars spent on weather experience, research, development, and use of geoengineering weapons have been taking place for many decades, along with a few other countries. The U.S. has obviously taken the idea seriously as they poured millions of dollars into research. For example, HAARP, which is the High Altitude Auroral Research Program, a facility in Alaska that has put hundreds of millions of dollars in their efforts, has the potential to alter weather on a massive scale by supercharging the ionosphere. In fact, the Air Force has admitted that such weather experiments can and have been conducted. All this makes one wonder about the Russians or the North Koreans, what they have up their sleeves or weaponized engineering programs, doesn't it? Just what I was saying, man. This can, geoengineering tactics can heighten a war situation or escalate tensions between countries, even when used peacefully. All right, robot runs. If a country wants to control the climate in one way and another country doesn't, if they try to shoot down the planes, if there's no agreement, it could result in terrible consequences, and that's extremely true. Alright, so I thank your Newswire for this this article. I always try to support independent media. I believe independent media, like what we do here at Action News Network, is more truthful and in getting the true news out to the people. All in all, there are hundreds of HAARP type programs all over the world, multiple countries. I'm worried about China and Russia because I believe we're in Cold War with them to this day. The United States has several of their own. They only admit to one program though. So, if you still to this day don't think that this is going on, then you're crazy. All right. HAARP has been up and running for years, and they've been probably testing out this technology since the 1950s. It's almost safe to say that we don't know if our own weather on any given basis, any day, is real or manufactured. Okay, so keep your head up. Stay tuned to hear. Remember, the more you know, the better. And all I'm offering you is the truth. Action News Network.